We now shift our focus to our segment called Driving Innovation. And this is where we are joined by McLean Sibanda. He's the Chief Executive at the Innovation Hub, and he's going to be giving us an in-depth look at the institution's objectives. McLean, thank you for making the time to join us. I usually know you to be based in Pretoria. What takes you to Cape Town? Is there something happening in Cape Town that we should be aware of?
Yes, Nozipo, thank you very much for having us on the show. There's the annual Innovation Summit that is taking place at the Cape Town Stadium. And this is organized by a company called RIS, which is located at the Innovation Hub. They've spun out another company called the Innovation Summit. And this is where leaders, both in the public sector and private sector, meet to be able to discuss issues around innovation and how they can be able to cooperate moving forward.
And perhaps give us a sense, McLean, around the concept of innovation. It has always been seen as one of those buzzwords that are at risk of losing their relevance. Give us a sense of the tangible strides we've made as a country that shows that we really have adopted and inculcated innovation in the way we do business, in the way that we run governments. Are there good success stories that you could share with us?
Yes, I think South Africa is, in general, South Africans are very innovative by their very nature. And I think innovation is born out of challenges and the struggles. And I think the fact that South Africa is isolated from the rest of the world is also, in essence, bred that particular culture. And if you look at innovation generally, I think innovation is just any improvement, any adaptation that happens broadly. And I think typically it's tended to focus more on the product in a sector. But if you look more recently, innovation has gone through more into the services industry. You look at the way that banking has changed from the way that you used to go into a bank. Now you can be able to do banking online. You can be able to do banking on your cell phone. You look at the money transfers, the way that that is moving. And South Africa is actually a leader in that particular part. We look as well in terms of just delivery of services. The taxi industry is one of the oldest industries, but you look at how Uber has been able to turn that upside down. Within South Africa, we've also seen innovations coming out of the mining sector. Lodox, for example, is an innovation that was born by, out of De Beers, where they were looking at how they can be able to find diamonds that people had ingested. And that particular technology is now being used within the medical sector. Within the Innovation Hub itself, there's also companies that are looking at blood-based TB diagnostics, and that is quite a great move moving forward. And I think most of the innovations nowadays are driven by ICT. And we're moving into connected devices, communication between device and device, machine devices, and Internet of Things. So it's actually, I think, an exciting time to be alive in South Africa and in Africa in general.
If there were any regulatory levers that you could tap into that, if you believed were unlocked, could really accelerate some of the successes that we could potentially also have in future around innovation, which of those regulatory hurdles do you think that you would prioritize first?
I think, looking at the industries that we operate in within the Innovation Hub, I think the approvals, regulatory approvals, particularly from a pharmaceutical point of view, are quite critical to driving innovation in the pharmaceutical sector. So if, for example, the approvals for any drugs and approvals for clinical trials was to be expedited, we have the view that that could be able to spur the pharmaceutical industry and the clinical trials industry, which could be able to generate a number of jobs. Of course, other people talk about exchange control, but our view is that exchange control should not really be an issue, because we need to be innovating to be able to address the challenges that we face, as a country. So we need to also be looking at perhaps funding and seeing how we can be able to unlock funding and get funding decisions made much quicker, so that the entrepreneurs can be able to get on with it. And I think lastly, the important one is on the ICT. And I think we're seeing those trends within ICT environment, government putting in place policies, but I think we are moving somehow slower than our peers such as Kenya, and so we need to be able to open up more on the spectrum and allow the entrepreneurs to be able to, to develop, their products and services.
Thank you so much, McLean, outlining there some key priorities if we were to make some forward movement around innovation in South Africa. That's McLean Sibanda, is the Chief Executive of the Innovation Hub.